Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blood, Sweat, and Fierce podcast. I needed a shower after seeing the movie that we're going to talk about today. I am joined once again by my fabulous co-host, Alan J. You're
Hi.
back. How you doing?
I'm great. I've just been cast in the adult version of Murder, She Wrote in the lead role.
Yes.
I will be Jessica Filcher.
He's doing it again. He's doing it again.
You gave me a limit of 2 puns, didn't you?
That's
one down.
one. And joining us today, we have an incredible guest. I've opened for him at the Fringe. I've gigged with him many times. A very funny and lovely comedian. Please welcome to the show the wonderful Al Thompson.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Wearing a Spice Girls shirt. I fucking love this. Who's your favorite Spice Girl?
Jerry.
Jerry.
Yeah, I was into tits, so...
See, I never actually... I was more of a Sugar Babes guy when I was a kid, like when the Spice Girls and that were popular.
I love how they solved the ship of Odysseus theory.
What?
You know how they say that if you have a ship and you replace every single part of it, is it still the same ship?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then they changed all their members, but then the original members got their name back. Therefore, the Sugar Babes solved the ship of Theseus.
Very true, aye.
Where was that in Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Like... So, well, you've also been doing some gigs down in Liverpool. How did those go?
It was fine. I did one in Sheffield where the host kept doing like his own 5 minutes of news stuff between every act because he owned the bar. So he was obviously using it as his way to kind of get into it. Also tried, I looked at my watch and it was like 5.5 minutes. Then after a minute, he was showing me the like 1 minute left thing when I was supposed to have 10, and that kind of annoyed me. But it was all right. There was like 2 tables just refusing to laugh at anything I said. Then hot water, that was really exciting just to kind of be there. But it went all right. I don't know, it's weird. Like I've had a few gigs recently where I've just kind of felt it's not went as well as it used to, and I've just kind of been looking at that. And
You're getting into that stage, I think, of like sort of finding your voice a little bit more, and like honestly, just keep gigging, and then you'll get there. Because like my first time at hot water was kind of similar. It was just all right, but then I took note from that. Got better the next time, and then got better the next time I did it, and it's possible. Like don't let it get you down.
I think it's weird when you're doing the jokes and stuff like that. Like you're not as enthusiastic about them because you've done them like 100 times before, kind of thing. So, but I mean, I've actually never seen you do stand up. The only time I've heard you doing jokes is on this.
and yet you're letting me
right off
open.
you.
God.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you're going to be able to say jokes wise about this, because the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, like, so this is one I was always aware of as a kid, but I only watched it properly when I was about 17. I did not realize that this predates Halloween as one of the first slashers. It features the first ever final girl in a horror film.
Oh.
And it's just like, it feels almost like an art house film rather than a horror film. It's like got this really grimy aesthetic to it. And every time I watch this, I feel like I need a shower afterwards. You were saying in the chat yesterday, it's like you can smell that van that they're in.
Yeah, it looks like the way that they filmed it and stuff like that. Like it was because it was so low budget and stuff. They only had like one outfit, so they were wearing the same clothes like throughout the full shoot, and they're obviously getting drenched in blood and everything like that. So there is a good chance that everywhere would have smelled like pure shit.
Especially in like a Texas summer. I mean,
exactly.
I can compare it to Dubai summers. If you walked out after having a shower in a Dubai summer, you would feel like you needed another shower. Like it was so hot and sticky, and like I think there's genuinely videos of people like frying eggs on the pavement. That's how hot it got.
Try not to mention Dubai challenges being failed in it.
I mean, the Dubai Chainsaw Massacre would be a very different movie. Just a guy in like a gold-plated Lamborghini and a chainsaw.
Dubai Stoning Massacre.
Are they not used to beheadings?
But this is like, so I even remember like reading the book of how this got, listening to the book of how this got made, like during lockdown. I think Gunnar Hansen or something might have written it, and hearing like the conditions that these people were on when they were filming this is like, do you ever get that thing where you watch a horror film and you almost wonder what the set would have been like from like how the actors are performing? Like,
Oh, I read that Gunnar, he's the guy that played Leatherface, isn't he?
Yeah, Gunnar Hansen.
What you're saying about the clothes, I read that he only had one shirt
Yeah.
He's quite a big guy, and he had to do it. They were shooting for like 40 days throughout that summer, and by the end, no one wanted to fucking go near him.
Yeah, that was mentioned in his book as well.
Yeah, I can understand that because I was running a lot as well. He's quite a fast runner, to be honest with you. He's done well, but I mean, like I think it's the low budget actually makes it better because you can see like the people in that room at the end. I don't know, are we doing this in order or chronologically? I'm just jumping in anyway.
We can do it chronologically. We can just mention favorite scenes. It doesn't really matter.
Well, the bit at the end where it's like them all in the room, I think that took like, I think it was about 27 hours it took straight of filming in The Hitchhiker.
Mike Sayers.
He said it was worse than him being in Vietnam filming that.
Oh man, well I can imagine, like, because like Mike Sayers he's a friend of the show, but like I did the first thing I thought of when I saw that Hitchhiker come on was like, that guy looks like Mike Sayers. But the hitchhiking scene is just like, that guy, it makes me so uncomfortable watching it because it's like you've got this almost Scooby Gang level of friends, and then this guy's coming in, it's got off his face on something. And I remember reading something about this, I think in like a horror academic paper or something like this, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was sort of this satire of the 70s time. So it's like criticizing the way the world was like in the times of Nixon and like the wars that were going on during that time and stuff. And so it's almost like the working class turning the tools of their trade against people. And like there's stuff about maybe the Sawyer family having to resort to cannibalism in order to stay profitable. I don't know if any of that's true, but it's if you look at the movie through that kind of lens, it does kind of add something to it beyond it just being like a slasher.
Did they mention their name being the Sawyer family in the film?
No, I don't know if they do, but like James Janice on Dead Meat calls them that, so that's what I'm calling them.
Okay. Leatherface Sawyer doesn't really have a good ring.
The sequel to Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
But this is like this is one of your favorite movies, so like I'd love to know what got you into this, man. Like, why is this your favorite horror film?
Well, I think it's because it was originally like a video nasty. Like, it's like you can't watch it, and it was banned and stuff. So I got like a DVD from HMV, like a special edition. And to me, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a Christmas film. Like Christmas Eve, like we would.
I mean, it's got a family dinner at the end, so
like Christmas Eve, like what we would do, we just kind of watch films and stuff like that, like all day. And like my pal would come down and we'd just sit and watch films and stuff. So we put on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and try to fall asleep so the day would go in quicker. So we'd be watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the living room and always like lying down in the flare, watching it, trying to go to sleep, which is a bit fucking mental. But no, I think that's what drew me into it, was the fact that it was banned. I'm shite with horror films. Like, my first ever horror film I watched was The Sixth Sense, and it was just because my pal kept talking about it, and then I watched Sixth Sense with my full family and didn't sleep for a fortnight. And then when I was in third year, I think, in high school, I watched the Blair Witch Project for the first time and had to sleep with my mum.
Oh,
I was fucking terrified.
It made you into incest.
Yeah. Sawyer film. But no, like, we were I hated horror films. Like, I couldn't do them at all. But this just, as you say, it didn't really feel like a horror film. It was just cool.
It's funny you say it because like, this is not the kind of movie I would show a first-time horror fan. Like, this feels like you need to like start off watching something like maybe like Child's Play or A Nightmare on Elm Street and gradually build your way up to like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and your Suspirias and all these weird 70s things. If I showed this to like, it's because I've dated people who have told me like, oh, I'm kind of scared of horror films. Can we watch an easy one? If I showed them the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I feel like that's the red flag thing of like going into a date's house and they've got a Pulp Fiction poster in the fucking bedroom.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Well, I watched this with Silas, who we did Fright Night with him because that's quite an easy one, but he fucking hates anything that's too brutal.
Oh, man, yeah.
It took us like half an hour, I think, to put this on because he was like tossing and turning if he actually wanted to watch it. I think, what scene was it that got him? It was the hook scene, I think, especially.
Oh, yeah. That is horrific. But to be fair, she was reading out people's horoscopes to them, so it's definitely warranted. She got off lately.
Yeah, it's a perfect way to make someone want to die.
Exactly.
And I do, I love the scene where Leatherface is first introduced. I love how it's played because there's almost no build up to it. It just kind of happens. Like they stumble upon this house looking for gas, and then Kurt, I think his name is, just walks towards this door, and then Leatherface just comes out of nowhere and just bam, hammer on the head.
That's what kind of brought me into it. Was that because it's the most kind of, I've never killed MD, but it seems like the most realistic kill like ever. See where his legs are shaking and hitting off, and then and then he hits him again with a hammer, and then drags him in, and then shuts the.
It's the shutting of the doors that proper scares me. Like that reminded me of the end of Saw with the whole game over thing. Yeah, very much like that.
A you're fucked moment.
Yeah, but that's what kind of drew me into it. Like, because I thought that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And also probably the most realistic, but again, I've never killed MD. But it's just the sound of his legs hitting off the ramp, and then the echo of him like shutting the door was it's incredible. And then she comes into the house as well, and see that shot as well. It gets like, panning up like below her, and you see the house, and like, she's walking towards it. It's just incredible. Like, I just love it, man.
I got my final girls mixed up. I thought that she was the final girl.
No, she got hooked.
No, it was her.
Yeah, from that moment on, I was hooked on the movie.
Yes.
Don't know if that's a pun.
No, I'm taking that.
Yeah. So I'm looking at my notes again, and you know how when you write something, you think, I'll know what that means, and you don't fuck it. I've got pineapple fleshlight.
Are you describing like the setting of it? Like...
No, it was the opening when they were taking photos. That's what it was. It looked like a pineapple fleshlight.
Oh yeah, I've never the thing the hitchhiker does, I almost forgot to mention this, but like I've never taken a photo of someone and then asked for money. Like,
he's like the Spider-Man in New York City. When you walk by them and they take a photo, it's like a scam. But
and like also there's a character in this that is like pretty infamous through horror fans, but Franklin, the fella in the wheelchair, like I remember reading the behind the scenes of this, and like despite like Franklin like being a disabled guy and everything, the guy who played him intentionally played him as whiny and annoying and never switched off during the set because he wanted the cast to be annoyed by him. And then that kind of translates a little bit into the movie as well. Like it reminds me almost like the In-Betweeners, where they have that one character in the third season who's like, he is in a wheelchair and everything, but he's still a complete bell end. But on this rewatch, I did feel a little bit of sympathy for Franklin, because he feels almost like he's the tag along that no one really wants around. And especially like in the 70s, I can imagine like attitudes to disabilities were not what they are today.
I mean, I think this film should really have been called Well, You're Taking Your Brother, the film.
Also with Leatherface, right? So I love this as well. This is where I really got into Leatherface as a character, because right after, I think it's the second kill, just before he puts the lassie on the hook, the way he screams, it's almost like a wounded animal. It's like an animal being cornered. And when you look at Leatherface in the context of the entire Sawyer family, he's as much a victim as like any of them. Like you can tell he's only been brought up to do this. Yeah. Like this is the only thing he kind of knows how to do. It's like almost like that Michael Myers, like I was just born to be a killer kind of thing, like that, the Jaws shark kind of stuff. And I can imagine also with the attitude to disabilities back then, they wouldn't have like gone properly into Leatherface essentially being a victim, so that's why they just play him as like straight as what he is. I feel like if this was made nowadays, they would go more into the mental health side of him. Because I know there was a prequel made about like a young Leatherface, but I've not seen it yet.
No, I don't think I've never seen any other ones apart from the Netflix one.
As soon as like the intro came up and they described him as being an invalid, I was like, oh, we're in for some weird disabled stuff in this.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're not expecting like good quality, good representation of disabled characters in a 70s video nasty.
I see, that's the thing, is watching it, I don't know if I was just being an asshole, but I like the way the character was, I couldn't tell if they were trying to say that he was mentally disabled as well or just American.
I think like I've not really looked into it, but as far as I know, like the story of Leatherface is that he had like a sort of mental disability, and he was very like suggestible, and that's how the family kind of use him for this. And despite him being the face of the franchise is interesting as well, because I think he's only really like, if you were to look at it just from this movie, he's almost like the henchman, whereas like the Sawyer family would be technically be the main villains because they're the ones who are like legitimately doing harm. Leatherface is just essentially doing what he's told, and I find that even more unsettling.
It was based on Ed Gein.
Yeah, a lot of those, a lot of horror killers are based off Ed Gein. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what inspired like Mike Myers, Scream, Ghostface, Leatherface, and Jason.
Buffalo Bill for
Buffalo Bill,
as well. But I mean, he was never. He only killed 2 people. He was more of he was more of a grave robber, Ed Gein. But it was the like making a lamp out his mum's face and stuff like that, which you see in the film, like when the horoscope woman goes into the room and sees all of the dead animals, and then they've got the
real dead animals as well. Like, they use legitimate roadkill and stuff for this in the film.
The armadillo at the start was meant to be real. Like, they had a real dead armadillo, but it just stunk the place out that much that to replace it with like a toy armadillo thing at the start.
I mean, because I've heard stories of like mad horror directors doing stuff on sets, like Stanley Kubrick infamously being a bit of a dick on sets. Can you imagine Toby Hooper just walking in with a dead raccoon? Like, okay, cuz this is going to be our guest for the set shoot today. And he's just plopped it down on the lunch table to properly shock them. It's like, a movie like this can't really get made today. The only thing that chance. I can think of that closely gets to the feeling of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that movie X. Have any of you seen that?
No.
Yes.
So that one, we will cover it eventually on this, but that's when I saw that in theaters, I was instantly brought back to how I felt when I was watching this. It's that grimy kind of 70s aesthetic where everything just feels like unsettling, but it's still got that fun stuff that I love about slashers.
I think it adds to it though, the fact that it's all real, because as I say, in the van, I think even in that room, you feel as if you can smell it. You can feel, as you say, you feel about to take a shower after it, because it is real and it feels real. Like, you can't fake stuff like that, like the disgustingness of it, if you will. But it's no, I think it makes it better. But you wouldn't be able to.
And even with the way it's shot, like there have been other Texas Chainsaw movies where they shoot them too cinematically. And it looks too clean, and it doesn't add to the effect.
Me and Silas were talking about this. He said he felt like it would be scarier if it was less grainy and more kind of modern, but I think the graininess actually adds to the kind of creepiness of it.
Yeah,
like I think I said it on the first episode, but the first thing I saw was Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and like I've watched it on Blu-ray since, and it doesn't have the same effect as like a shitty wee CRT TV of seeing all the gross stuff, like the ligaments, or what was it coming
yeah, that's why like I will probably do this at some point in my gaff, but if I ever get my own TV room, I want to get just like a little retro TV and get some old stuff on VCR just to like get the intended effect of what they were filmed like. As much as I love the 4K quality of Blu-ray and being able to see all of Leatherface's pores, like I like seeing films presented in the way they were done.
Was speaking of like Leatherface and 4K and stuff, was that his real teeth as well? Let's see when it zooms up on him after he's
candy,
and then he's just like licking.
Well, maybe because everyone looks really dodgy in this film. It's like they put out a casting call for them, these incestuous looking fuckers over there.
I know, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. Does Franklin remind you of anybody in this room?
Dean. See, I was going to say that. I said that. I was like, I said that to Silas. I was like, drink it a bit like Dean, and I think he thought that was rude. And I was like, okay.
Well, I'm not going on a road trip to Texas with any of you guys. You're gonna leave me in a wheelchair to get slashed up by a chainsaw wielding maniac.
Gonna go in.
The blowing raspberries thing, that was the moment where I know, okay, you're meant to dislike Franklin because he's a fucking childish wee baby. Like
the Texas kid.
and then
that's just like, that sounds like a fucking Lone Ranger type character. Hands up, I'm the Texas kid.
and then he gets blown down a hill by a truck as well at the very start, which is very strange. Like when he's out doing a piss in a tin can, and then he gets blown down a hill by a truck. Yeah, he's just
I was honestly wondering, like, what inspired these characters to go on a road trip through Texas in the summer? Like, I can't imagine anything worse than being in a sweaty van with 5 people and it's so fucking hot, and they don't look like they packed enough water for it as well. Like,
definitely. Well, that was the thing. It was the graves that were getting robbed was where their granda was buried, and they were going to check to see if his grave had been dug up. But there was the bit at the start.
His grave being dug up is probably the least of his worries.
I know.
If he stays near them.
Well, did you see the bit at the start when they've actually dug 2 people out the grave, and then they've just planked a guy on like a post, so it's went right up his hoop.
It's toe pooper.
But that's a bit as well, where she's like, I need to find my granddad's grave. She's like, I'll go and speak to this guy, he'll show you. And then the way he grabs his arm, did you notice that? Just look, come here, come with me. Like, you wouldn't be able to get away with that.
And see, in terms of like final girls and stuff, so like we've had a few great ones on this podcast, like Sydney Prescott and things like that. Sally Hardesty is an interesting one for me because I don't really feel like I know her as well, like as much as you would a Sydney or like Laurie Strode or something like that. But see, the scariest moment of this movie for me is actually none of the Leatherface scenes. It's that final scene when she's escaping him and they're in the house with the Sawyer family, because it goes on for what feels like way too long. And it's like, I think it's only a 10-minute sequence, but it's so freaking uncomfortable and unsettling. And I actually found this out the other day. See the grandpa who's like, they're trying to get to hold the hammer so they can bash her. Yeah. That was actually played by a 19-year-old dude in makeup.
Really?
Like, it wasn't an actual old guy.
I mean, well, I didn't think it was really bad. I thought it would have been like an older guy, but I didn't. And then she gets her finger cut, and then he's sucking blood from her finger, and it's just so uncomfortable, the full thing. But that's the thing as well. Like, Leatherface had 3 costumes.
He's got the tuxedo, the cook outfit, and
then he dresses up as a woman.
Why is he in drag at the end? It kind of looks like a really fucked. You know how Isabella Rossellini in Blue Velvet looks like a really fucked up version of her.
I think it's probably a 70s thing of like sort of, because it's still they're preying on the fear of that, because like this will be not long after like Psycho had come out.
True. Well, it's that was the thing, because he was preparing the meals, then that was his costume for it. Like, he was the kind of housewife type thing, which is just everything about this film is just unsettling. Like, for the minute, for even the guy at the start, the old guy drinking on the tire, and he falls back and he's like, they just see like a drunk man rambling, but like, he obviously knows there's shit going down. And did you notice when they're going to put I'm going to say gas. Why did they call it gas?
It's just an Americanism.
That's stupid. Anyway, they're putting petrol in the van, and they stop, and obviously the dad Sawyer's petrol station, and it says up above it, "We Slaughter." Did you see that?
I didn't see that. No.
It says it's next to like the Coca-Cola sign, and there's a sign saying "We Slaughter," which is pretty cool.
Because I don't know if they actually properly go into it in this, but I remember seeing the 2003 remake of this, and they go a little bit more into the Sawyer family's like meat production thing, and like how they won like the chili contest and that, and it's heavily implied that their chili was made with human meat. So like, I think that kind of adds to the whole them turning to cannibalism to like stay profitable, because like I can imagine in the 70s during the time of like wars and stuff, and where Nixon was still kind of in power, a lot of the working class communities around there would have struggled to stay profitable, especially in a town like that. It looks like a fucking ghost town.
But I mean, are they digging them up and then cooking them? Because you'd imagine that meat would be rotted.
It would have done, yeah.
That's a good point, actually. Why were they digging up? Was it just for furniture?
Yeah, I reckon that was for the furniture. Yeah, they couldn't afford to they couldn't go to IKEA. They can't get the Swedish meatballs. Have you really gone to IKEA if you don't get Swedish meatballs at the end?
Flat pack bodies.
Also, the scene where Leatherface is chasing Sally through the clothesline and the washing. I love it so much. It's so fucking frightening. And then our boy Franklin. Rest in peace, Franklin. He didn't stand a fucking chance against that chainsaw.
Is he the only one that gets killed with a chainsaw, though?
Actually, yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think the other guy was dead by the time Leatherface was chaining him up.
Yeah.
And also, that another kill I love, I can't remember the name of the character, but he goes in and it's just as the other two have been killed, and then opens the freezer, and then the lassie is almost kind of half dead, half alive, and sort of it looked like something out of like Reanimator.
Yeah. Oh, the John Lennon looking guy.
Not the girl.
Oh right, okay.
Oh, but the guy
John
Lennon.
Disco Stew, is it? The guy called?
I swear every time he was on screen, his hair just got a wee bit bigger.
I did.
And then there's another like Leatherface screaming, and I know it would never happen. I know this movie's a product of its time, but I would love to see a Texas Chainsaw film where they actually go into like the whole idea of Leatherface being a victim. They might do that in the prequel. I want to watch the prequel now. Like, I imagine it's not as good as this, but like, I'm just fascinated by that character. Like,
well, that's after he kills him. That's when he goes and sits down in the room away, and he's just like kind of rocking back and forth in the chair and stuff. And he's just like, just staring. So I think he's been used for his size more than anything as well. It's, I mean, I didn't expect to be sympathising with Leatherface, but you make a good point.
yeah, like, I used to consider him the scariest horror killer, like just from the realism of him and everything like that. But I since have put Ghostface above him just because of the idea it could be anybody. But Leatherface, you're a very, very close second, Gunnar Hansen. Like, and even like the physicality Gunnar Hansen brings to the role is just amazing. Like everyone does, you see that gif all the time when people talk about Texas Chainsaw, but that end bit where Sally's gotten away and he's just sort of dancing with the chainsaw. What a beautiful piece of filmmaking that is.
I mean, that's the thing with film, horror films especially, is like the ending could totally fuck up everything. But I think the ending for this is perfect. But have you ever seen The Babadook?
Yeah, I've seen it once, I think, years ago when it came out.
Yeah, and then at the end of The Babadook, it's like this absolutely terrifying character throughout the full film, and then at the end they just keep him as a pet. And it's like, that's just fucking ridiculous. You've ruined the full film.
Well, that's the same with the ending of Nightmare on Elm Street. We talked about this on the first episode. They go through this whole thing of Nancy taking Freddy's power away from him and then immediately undo it, so they could set a sequel up in the end.
They did that in Smile as well. Spoilers for Smile, but yeah, it's like, I thought the film was going for this whole elevated thing of your trauma doesn't have to hold you back and stuff. And then it goes, actually, it does, fuck you. Because like, it looks like she got her life together again, and then it's just, no, she's been in the house the whole time.
It can kind of work for the horror films that have that tone of being like mean-spirited. So like Midsommar and like Hereditary come to mind for that. Like, those are very mean-spirited horror films and designed for that intent. See, if for something like Smile, where they're trying to go for like the whole trauma thing, doing that at the end does kind of just feel like a fuck you. Also, the ending of this, like, so once she's gotten away, that poor truck driver, man. Legend says he's still running down that road. So, like, he just and why did he not jump into the truck with her? Like,
that's the thing. Like, he jumps in and then he starts like putting the chainsaw on the door, and then he go, like, drive in the fucking truck.
It was satisfying though. Like, I love seeing a villain get their comeuppance. Seeing the hitchhiker just get fucking squashed under that thing was beautiful.
It was fucking terrifying, man. Like that whole hand cutting.
Aye, man.
Yeah, you just knew it was dirty as well. Dirty blood. You know what I mean? Yeah, he was. And then what is he does with the picture? Does he put gunpowder on it?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he puts gunpowder on and then lights it.
And then
it's Texas. They love that shit.
He's got gunpowder on it. It's probably his blood.
We got chainsaw wielders and gun wielders everywhere.
That was one of the most gruesome bit when he grabs like Franklin's hand and they just like cuts his wrist.
And see the sound effects and everything they do. It's like Tobe Hooper wanted to do it like all the sound effects sounds as if they're coming from an abattoir.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's how it's all like. That was a perfect impression, by the way.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, you and your impressions. Like, I don't know if you noticed this, but anytime we're on at a gig and you do your joke about a dog getting stepped on its tail, I legit always do this because it sends my fucking autism into fucking overdrive.
I've saw a few folk doing it. I've saw Sean Chalmers like ducking down as if I'm chucking a grenade. But will I do it now? Will it be picked up here?
Sure. Yeah. This is Al doing an impression of a dog getting its tail stepped on.
Yeah.
I walked into a fucking vegan cafe one time and it was like really sunny and the windows were shining the sun in my face, but someone left their dog at the door and I stood on it.
I hate when sometimes it happens when I take Chalky out. He'll run too fast in front of me and his tail will get turned on and I legit have to hug him for 5 minutes just to let him know that I love him.
I felt really bad about that, but like, I mean, it wasn't my fault. I mean, the dog was right at the door and I couldn't see, but like they told me it was limping after it and I felt like fucking shite. And then they were like,
stamp on it. Like,
I know, it was right at the door, and I was like, I mean, I used to be much fatter than I'm now, so like there was a lot of weight on the thing, but like, then they were like, no, Alan, we were only kidding, it wasn't limp. And then years later, they're like, oh, we just wanted to make you feel better. It was actually
And you see the CCTV footage and it's like American History X, like curb stomping the dugouts.
no, it was a light for Doug. So it was okay.
Leatherface is also
Just got that.
it's a costume I wish I could do for Halloween. I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but it's pretty easy to put together. It's just like an apron and a regular shirt with like a toy chainsaw and the mask. Like, well, he's got multiple masks, but
Don't we all have multiple masks?
yeah, like
True.
this is how much of a horror fan I am now. I have not one but two Ghostface costumes in my gaff. I've got the Scream 6 mask and the original mask with two robes to go with them. And if I move out and get my own gaff, my plan is to get one of those shop mannequins and just hang the costume up.
Oh. I was hoping one of them was going to be the Scary Movie one with like his tongue coming out.
See, I've seen that, but like I've recently rewatched Scary Movie and I thought it held up originally. It doesn't. Like it was cringy to rewatch. Like it's that kind of humor has just completely died out now. Like, you imagine if they do Scary Movie 6 now, they'd definitely be parodying like Hereditary and Midsummer and that, and I know it would just be complete cringe.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I mentioned on the Scream episode, but I had one of this Ghostface masks where you pump a heart and blood.
Yeah.
Because I did that in front of my like 4-year-old cousin. I got in a lot of trouble for it.
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
I don't remember. I think it was like 10.
Yeah, fair enough. I would have done the same thing when I was 10.
And
Can
then
you imagine if you were dressed as Leatherface? It was like that scene from The Simpsons where it's like Homer's trying not to scare Bart. Like, Bart, you want to see my new chainsaw and hockey mask? Chainsaw is it's a classic horror weapon, but like it is Leatherface's, in terms of like iconic horror weapons. Like, sorry, Ash from Evil Dead, but Leatherface is getting the better chainsaw wielder thing.
Well, when did Ash get the chainsaw though? That was
Evil Dead 2, yeah.
was
It
it?
would have been the 80s.
right.
I still can't believe that this movie predates Halloween, because like everyone views that as like the beginning of the slasher craze, where it's really technically it kind of starts with Peeping Tom in 1958, then Psycho makes it popular, and then Texas Chainsaw and Black Christmas come out in the same year, and then you get Halloween, and then the slashers just take off in the 80s. Maniacs wearing masks, as Peter Vincent said.
Slashing virgins.
I don't know if I've never thought it as a slasher, but it obviously is.
It's got all the hallmarks of a slasher, but
Aye.
it does have that kind of grindhouse, like art house feel to it as well, which I think makes it stand apart. Like, see, when you have the other Texas Chainsaw movies looking modern, sleek, they don't have the same effect. Like, this is, I don't know if it is in like the culturally restored films of like all time, but it should be. Like, this is without a doubt one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think it's just because it's not got the kind of like slow build up or anything. I don't really feel as if there's like from Leatherface's point of view, like you see in all the other slashers and stuff. You even see for Halloween Michael Myers and stuff, you can see like, some shots done through the mask. I don't feel as if it's a slasher because it's not like slashers have been made yet and they don't fall into the usual tropes of slasher films and stuff like that. So with it being the first one, they've got nothing to follow. So I
guess that's what made it so effective at the start, where he just appears out of nowhere and just goes bash, hammer time.
Yeah.
You know what, Alan? I'm going to give you credit for the pun game today, because you're actually doing good ones. Al's not walked out yet.
No.
Like, I'm enjoying this, man.
Oh, I've not even noticed that they're puns as well.
Neither have I.
I'll be honest, I fully walked into this expecting something like, the porn parody of this, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And you haven't gone through to that yet, and I'm happy for you.
Well, I'm going to set this up then at the start when he's in the van talking about head cheese.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Do you know what head cheese is?
smegma.
Were
Were you not making a joke about that?
Well, kind of. I was kind of trying to set you up a bit, but it's in Scotland. It's called potted heed.
Oh, yeah, it's like a cured meat, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Doesn't sound nice.
No, it really doesn't. But I mean, there's like hoch. If he's ever had hoch,
I've had ham hock, but not Hulk.
It's something I've only ever heard in my family, and it's phenomenal. It's like the joints. It's like ball and socket joints. I think of an animal, and it's just you put it on toast with butter. I would advise, but I don't know where to get it. I think it's just my family that's made it up, but it's phenomenal. But
I would love the family recipe for that. That sounds kind of like pate to me.
Aye,
and we're getting into Christmas season. We're going to be making our own pate soon. Well, I am. I don't know if yous are going to do.
You make your own pate?
Yeah, I mean, chicken livers are dead cheap because like no one really buys them. So like me and my mom have like a tradition of we make our own Christmas pate every year.
How do you do that?
You just get the chicken livers, you blend them up with like onions and garlic and herbs and that with like you can put like my mom puts sherry in, but you can also do it with like red wine or something like that, and it's class. It's way better than the pate you can buy at shops because I find them too sweet and processed.
There you go.
I wonder if Leatherface makes his own pate.
He must do, aye. I mean, 'cause what I use the full body, aye. I mean, that's the bit as well. And that, sorry to go back to the film and what we're here to talk about. But like when she thinks she's been saved, but it's like the da.
Oh,
and then she's sitting looking at the barbecue and it's basically like bodies and stuff she sees, and then it's just the realization in her, like, oh, I am absolutely fucked here. And then he knocks her out with a broom.
I find that the funniest. You go for like chainsaws and hammers and hooks to someone just getting battered with the clean end of a broom.
And it's just like the way he's hitting her as well.
You dusty bitch.
I think look, for the last half hour of the film, all Sally does is scream.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you would if you were in her situation. I'm not going to hold that.
I suppose you're not going to be like, what is going on here? You're
Let
going
me
to
have a really complex Oscar-winning character monologue in the middle of this scene.
Very true. But I mean, it is very annoying. But like, I think the way things are said in this as well, like the way Franklin tells her to wait, like, Sally, wait a minute. And it's just, that's not the way you say things. It's just that the sound.
That's my accent for Uncle Henry in The Wizard of Oz.
It's just that everything about it is just off-putting because it looks like there's just like wee bits that just don't sit right. Like even just the way they talk, things like that, and obviously the van and the clothes, and I don't know, it's just everything is just unsettling for the minute it starts.
Tell you what, I would love to see a fan-made remake of this where we've got the van, we've got the 5 characters, the villains are the exact same, but we replace them with Mystery Inc. I think Scooby would be Franklin, obviously. Disco Stu would be Shaggy. Daphne's probably Sally Hardesty, let's be honest. Velma is the other girl.
With the horoscopes.
I can't remember her name. The horoscopes, yeah. She's got her own like little scopes as well. So that's and then Fred is Hammer Time fella.
I mean, could you have a modern day Velma with all her problematic traits? Like Jinkies, like, no, we say Chinese Velma. Not in 2023.
I mean, I don't know if you've watched that Velma TV show that came out, but fuck me, it is garbage.
It's the lowest rated
bad.
thing in IMDb, isn't it?
Genuinely, like, I tried watching like 2 episodes of it just for the curiosity. It feels like it was written by a chronically online Twitter argument put through an AI. Like, I like Mindy Kaling. I think she's very funny. That show is fucking garbage.
Yikes, Scoob.
So we got any true and falses for this, Alan?
We do.
It's my
I
favorite part
think
of the
I'm going to
podcast.
squish this, by the way.
Well, I mean, this is your favorite movie of all time, and I've seen it maybe
After School of Rock.
Fair play.
John Larroquette, who provided the opening narration, was paid with a joint.
I'm going to say true.
True.
That was true. Leatherface's mask is modelled after William Shatner, specifically a Captain Kirk death mask.
False. That's
False.
Michael Myers.
Well done.
Come on.
The film was banned in Finland, but later released 25 years later uncut.
I'm going to say false because I think it was the UK it was banned in.
I'm saying true.
It was banned in Finland. Was
As
it banned
well.
in the UK?
Yeah, it was banned in the UK for 20 odd years.
Yeah.
Bastards. Despite being called the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, much of the film's opening scenes, including the abandoned house, were filmed in the state of Louisiana.
I'm going to say true. Would have been probably cheaper to film there.
False.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Oh,
Thank you, Dean. Got you. The film originally had a budget of $60,000, but the filmmakers incurred an additional $80,000 of costs, leading them to having to give up some of their rights to the film's royalties.
I'm gonna say true.
That sounds true.
That one is true.
Yeah, the film industry's fucking wild, man.
No naive Campbell in these facts.
Generally,
I got every one of them
Alan,
correct. I don't know if MD was counting or anything like that, but I got every one of them correct.
You did, man. Alan, I sometimes we will sneer at your pun stuff, but see, naive Campbell, that is. If you can find a way to turn that into a stand-up bit, then I think it would be fucking class.
One of my friends is convinced that Neve Campbell stole his dad's parking space in Motherwell, Asda.
We need to hear this story.
So, it was obviously, I mean, it's not really that much of a story. It was just kind of driving into the Motherwell Asda car park, and then he indicated to get into a parking space. Somebody swung in and got out, and he says it was Neve Campbell in Motherwell. She's got family from Bells Hill or Wishaw, I think. But he's convinced that the Neve Campbell stole his dad's parking space in Asda Motherwell, and I think it was just after Scream. It's like, there's no way she's doing her own shopping as well, and let alone in Motherwell Asda. It's baffling. And then he sent...
She's buying up all the Ghostface costumes.
And then he sent me a link the other day, and it was of Zooey Deschanel having her honeymoon in Lanark or something like that. And he says, "See, I tell you." I'm like, what's that? What's the name? But he's convinced. But that was my reaction as well. Fucking mentalist.
There's an article here in Glasgow Live saying that Neve Campbell was spotted in Nits Hill,
Ooh. Whereabouts is that?
just on the outskirts of Glasgow, towards Motherwell.
Was she still in parking spaces? She's not changed.
Did it say where she's from? Or where her family?
Her family's from Scotland.
This is fucking bad.
Okay, Sydney Prescott's now my favourite final girl because she's one of us. Neve, if you ever want to come on this podcast, unlike the producers of Scream 5 and 6, we will pay you fairly.
And there's plenty of parking spaces in there as well. So. Right.
You can park wherever you want.
Yeah, Paul, how are we doing for time?
Give it 20 minutes left.
20 minutes left. Okay, cool. We can still talk more about the movie then. So, have you told me you'd seen the remake of this, the one that came out on Netflix 2 years ago? Oh, fuck me, it was dreadful.
I mean, it's the bit where he goes on. This is the bit that sticks in my head when he goes onto the bus,
That's the clip I watched.
and then they're like filming him and saying, "Oh, this is going to bang on Twitter or whatever," and it's like, "Or you're so cancelled," they say,
it's
don't they?
Do anything, you're cancelled.
Cancelling Leatherface on social media. This man's wearing other people's faces. He's clearly doesn't care about the environment. I mean, the amount of chainsawing he's doing there can't be good for the atmosphere.
I mean, there are some bits in the film that I enjoyed the ending. I mean, but again, it's all modernised with the self-driving car and them getting dragged out the car. But then when they get into the house and he's just standing at the top of the stairs, that really kind of creeped me out.
Yeah, there are good things in it, but I can't rewatch it again because what they do to Sally Hardesty in it is just, I think, betrays her character.
Yeah, what the fuck? They made her like a sheriff or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I had gone through what happened in Texas Chain Saw Massacre, the last thing I would want is to have a job which is indicated with being a Texan.
Yeah.
It's like imagine if you'd done that and then, you know what I'm gonna do to get over this? I'm gonna go open my own barbecue restaurant with the Leatherface special.
The first time I watched this is when I had weed. I went through a month of smoking weed, and then
I wouldn't want to watch this while I'm high.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it hit during the scene where she's running away and she bangs into the branch, and that just made me laugh throughout the rest of the film. It's my mum just kind of came in and she was like, "Alan, do you want a draw?" Because she was a drug addict, she wasn't greedy. Yeah. I found the rest of it hilarious. I didn't really get it the first time I watched it. I remember the dinner scene being a bit fucked up, but I think what made me really appreciate it was playing Resident Evil 7.
That's got a very similar vibe to the original.
Because that really got me into that kind of ugly swamp back kind of horror, and so I really wanted to rewatch this again, so that's why I was glad that we did. But yeah, I think I'm pretty sure the granddad was the inspiration for the old woman in that film, who just kind of shows up in the game. She just kind of shows up in the wheelchair. Have you played it?
No, I can't play scary games. Like,
Resident Evil 7 is fucking brilliant. Like, I had fallen out of like a lot of gaming like for that, but then during lockdown I saw that it was on sale for like I think a tenner, so just ordered it, and I was fucking hooked. I love a really good horror game, and like this one's got its own game as well, but it's one of those multiplayer online games. Which, fair enough, if you got a couple of mates around and you want to like do that, that's fine. But imagine a really well designed, with what they can do with games now, a single player campaign game of the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, like Until Dawn, or like a Telltale Games kind of thing or something, or even I don't imagine they would spend all the budget on like a horror title tie-in, but like an Until Dawn style game for like Texas Chainsaw or Scream or Halloween, it's waiting to be made. Just go and do it. Like that would sell loads.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would even play that. I mean, I can't play scary games or anything like that. Like, played Dead Space. If you've ever played that.
I haven't played that, but I've heard it's really good.
But I went into like this place and it's like a sound vacuum, like you can't hear anything.
Because it's kind of like Alien, isn't it?
Yeah, and I went out to it and then looked about, there was nothing there, and turned around, there was an alien on the wall staring at me, shaking, and I turned my Xbox off, put the game in the case and took it to GeForce and traded it in. Like, I just...
It's genuinely surprising to me that, like, because I assumed you were like a big horror fan. Like,
yeah, I've only recently got in there. Like, obviously, I love Texas Chain Saw Massacre for years.
You have a Leatherface tattoo as well.
I do, yeah, but I was going to wear my shorts, but I don't know if I can pull. Can I pull it out? You're going to see my pants. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but there's Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface.
Will I go to a camera?
Okay.
Right, 2 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That looks amazing.
That's fucking great.
How long did that take to get done? Because there's a lot of details on the mask there.
Yeah, it was like about 2 hours, maybe 3. There is a bit on it that was really, really sore. It's actually the screenshot of, I just noticed it when I was watching it the other day, when the first kill, like, see when he lifts up his hammer and it zooms in on his face for like a millisecond, like that's where it's from, and there's like a horn in the background, and that was the sorest bit of it. I'm like, you don't really need to do that. I just kind of want to. And she was doing it. The phenomenal tattoo artist is Main Street in Wishaw, and she was doing it. She's like, I don't even really know what this is, and I'm sitting there like shaking and greeting and sweating, and I'm like, you don't really need to do it. It's no important, but it's one of my favorite tattoos. It's phenomenal.
That'd be like, because this is one of the tattoos I want to get. I really want to get a Venom tattoo, but like the sort of, in Spider-Man 3 where Topher Grace just turns into Venom and you get that kind of like scream jump scare as he becomes him. I would love that, but imagine if they did that and then they decided, okay, now we're going to put the church backdrop in for you.
Do you have any tattoos?
I don't have any tattoos, no, but my mum has gone on record saying that if you want to get a tattoo, you need to find your own gaff first. She is not a big fan of tattoos, as old my mum. She's not.
Aww.
But like, I wouldn't get like mad offensive ones or like ones that wouldn't get me a job. I would like the Superman logo, maybe a couple of horror based ones. You sent me a really cool one the other day, which was like the knife from Scream but with the ghost face mask inside it. That looked really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah, I've got them on my fingers and everything, so I don't really know if it affects getting jobs because I've got one. So
it doesn't really anymore.
No.
Like I had red and blue hair when I was doing a lot of my like retail and bar work. They don't care as long as you can do the work. It's fine.
Exactly. Aye.
You could go in wearing someone's face, like, as long as you do the job.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure the butchers in Asda are always looking for places. Like,
Yeah, I used to work in Asda. There's they employ him there.
do you think if in an Asda, like during Halloween season, wouldn't it be hilarious if they just made the butchers dress up as Leatherface?
Aye, that would be good.
Well, one head cheese, please, mate.
2 minutes is just that you go and scrape it off.
So I can't disassociate head cheese from what I'm thinking it is.
I know, neither could I. I mean, it's a horrendous name.
I can top that actually for a worse thing. Have you ever heard of maggot cheese?
Oh, no. It's not to do with cocks, is it?
No, it's not. It's worse. So I think it's a thing that they do in France where they get this mad cheese and they actually put maggots in it. and they let it mature for like a year or so, and then they have it on like crackers and stuff with the maggots. Apparently it does something to the cheese that they like. But I've seen people eating it on like cooking videos and stuff, and it looks fucking disgusting.
Are the maggots still in it?
Yeah.
How long does a maggot live for?
I don't know. I don't know what the lifespan of a maggot is, but I can't imagine long, because they turn into like, don't they turn into like caterpillars or something? I don't know. I didn't do well in science class, so I'm not sure. Someone will fact check that.
Yeah.
Stop being fucking weirdos, Franz. That is fucking disgusting.
It really is.
I'm going to send you the video of it later.
Oh,
Aye.
that's going to degrade for my diet. That is fucking disgusting. I'm
Oh,
gonna be thinking about that
anytime
all
you've
day.
got a craving for like a big cheese thing, just watch that.
Aye. The maggot cheese. That is insane. Aye.
You ever heard of Maggot Girl?
No.
It was this mad like Reddit story of someone who had like a maggot fetish, and so she crawled into a bin to get off, and it's fucking manky.
Oh, jeez, that's worse. Like, oh,
I might read it out one episode. That is absolutely horrendous.
we'll save that for the Patreon once we get one.
I'd love to do a dramatic reading of really horrible shit. Actually, I did like I put on a very kind of posh English accent once. And I did violent pornography for college, and I passed.
I would love to hear what your posh English accent is.
Aye.
One day.
You sound like Christian Grey.
What was it? It was like, you and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals. Let's do it like they do it on the Discovery Channel.
I can give
Very
you my,
good David Attenborough.
I can give you my Texan voice for Uncle Henry that we could use for this as well. It was so I remember vaguely going on stage in The Wizard of Oz when Miss Gulch has come to visit, who plays like the witch in that, and my line is straight up just like, I asked you to get off my land, Miss Gulch. I ain't ever skulked a day in my life, and I ain't about to start now. If you're making a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, I'm available.
I can't really do impressions. Apart
You
from-
have a whole bit about doing impressions.
No, I know, but it's only really that Rachel had a DJ guy and then a dog getting its tail stepped on. But that's it. That's really it. I've tried to do like Northern Irish. Like I used to work with a guy that used to bet all the time, and he used to always use paddy power. But I just done it as an over exaggerated. I'm just gonna use me paddy power account. But it's like it's just like over exaggerated cartoon type impressions.
Yeah, I get that. Like Irish is a really difficult accent to nail down.
Yeah.
Like Texas.
Oh, speaking of that, have you seen that thing that's gone viral about the woman doing Sweeney Todd?
Well, no, I haven't heard about this.
Well, like actually killing people? Is she a
Oh no,
barber?
no, on the
She's opened up a barber's.
on stage. I don't know where it is she's from, but she's doing the accent of the woman from Sweeney Todd. I would advise looking it up. It's horrific.
What, Helena Bonham Carter?
Yeah, that role. Yeah. Oh, it's
Like very good or very bad?
very bad. She sounds like What We Do in the Shadows. That
Oh, yeah. I mean, I
Can you run
associate
Natasha?
Helena Bonham Carter with Bellatrix Lestrange, so I'm just imagining someone doing a really bad Bellatrix Lestrange impression.
yeah, it's kind of like that. It's really bad. I would advise looking it up, but aye. Accents aren't my forte, not at all.
I was coming back from a gig yesterday, and I actually did see a lot of like mad Harry Potter fans who were like drunk off their face and just screaming the names of the spells at each other while throwing cans about in the train station.
Jesus.
And I liked Harry Potter when I was a kid. It can fuck off now. Like,
Yeah. You see a lot of people with the tattoos,
The one that looks like the Nazi symbol?
the death
Or the Aryan Brotherhood?
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, the Gallows thing, yeah. Yeah, I knew a lot of people who got that tattoo, and then J.K. Rowling went nuts, and they were like, "Oh fuck."
Aye. That's the thing, because a lot of my tattoos are based on like pop culture stuff. So I really hope that. Oh, I've got Tintin up here.
Oh.
Oh, I like that Homer Simpson as well.
Yeah, the Mr. Sparkle.
Mr. Oh, that should
Oh, that's dead cool. No.
So all of mine are basically kind of pop culture stuff. So I really hope that none of them turn out to be.
You're a fellow nerd, Al, and that's why.
Yeah.
So we might as well get on to favorite kill, and we've got
Fuck yeah.
a bunch of choices for this one. I am going to say my favorite kill is between two. It's the opening kill with that fella and Leatherface with the hammer, because it's so sudden and it just sets the movie up perfectly. And also, I really love the death of the hitchhiker. I think it's so satisfying. And the way they'd filmed it as well, I found this out on the Dead Meat video. They actually filmed him getting hit by the truck in reverse. So like, I think they brought the truck up to him and then reversed it and then just reversed the shot in filmmaking to make it look like he was getting run over and then just replaced it with a dummy and then just went to town on it.
Well, they did a bit of the Nightmare on Elm Street, did it with a fucking sex doll.
Yeah. Fuck. The leg staying perfectly straight the entire time it's dragged through the window. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but that is funny.
Yeah. My favourite is the first one. Is it Kurt? No. But that just dragged me into the film. No, it's probably my favourite kill in anything. Just because of how kind of realistic it is. How realistic
legs
it feels,
flailing about.
legs flailing, and it's incredible.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go for that one as well, actually. It is. It's very disturbing. Just do you expect, boom, deep, but the whole, body convulsing and stuff, that's fucking freaked me out.
I mean, putting the girl on the hook as well is like the shot of him walking in, and like I think you need to kind of watch it the second time for to actually have the effect, but I'm walking in, like holding her, and it's got the hook like in the forefront. It's just incredible. I don't think there's a bad kill in it. They're all really brutal.
And it is like I would class this under the vein of like horror films that are kind of mean spirited, but this is not as mean spirited as like other mean spirited horror films. Like it's not like the first movie that comes to mind when I think of a mean spirited horror film is Drag Me to Hell, because that movie's so unrelentlessly cruel. Have you seen that?
It was a long time ago. I remember the nosebleed scene.
I started watching it and then I couldn't. That was when I wasn't into horror films.
I think that was the next movie Sam Raimi made after Spider-Man 3 as well. So I almost...
Oh, really?
He had a lot to get out of his system.
Yeah, I look at that as like he just wrote that as all the Sony executives who made him put Venom into Spider-Man 3. Although that Spider-Man game coming out next month looks like it's going to be the definitive symbiote Spider-Man story. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I love the Spider-Man games.
I'm really looking forward to something to get me back into video games, and I think that's going to be it.
Oh, yeah. That and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I cannot wait for. State of Play looks so fucking good this year. I would highly recommend... You haven't played FF7, have you?
Not yet.
Get Final Fantasy VII Intergrade for the PS5. It's so fucking good. You will cry at how good the story is.
Oh god, I was so happy when they announced the Tomb Raider remasters.
Yeah, I saw how happy you were.
I'm such a massive Tomb Raider fan, and like fans have been asking for that for like 10 fucking years, and when I saw it, I was like, holy fuck.
I think they've been asking for round tits rather than the pointy one that she's
You can switch between the graphics, so like you can make her go for like... Look, like you can switch between the remastered graphics and the old graphics, so like you can just press a button to make her go from round breasts to make her look like a Toblerone. Like, so there you go, man. 2023.
And the main question is, can you lock the butler in the fridge?
Yes.
I like Tomb Raider,
In HD.
but sorry, Nathan Drake is where my heart is when it comes to video game treasure hunters. You're just like, boo, Nathan Drake.
I do like Uncharted, although oddly enough, I really like the DLC they made for Uncharted 4, where you played as Chloe.
Oh, yeah, the Lost Legacy thing.
That was amazing.
I suppose because that kind of feels like Tomb Raider in a way, like an updated version of it. Because because Chloe Fraser's also British. So I've only just put that together now.
She's Australian.
I thought she was British.
Yeah, she's Australian, mate.
Oh, fair enough. Close enough.
She's not bloody Indian.
But I'll give you this. Tomb Raider had a better film adaptation than Uncharted did.
No, you'd love that Cincinnati tits.
Oh, yeah.
Brought it right back to the beginning.
Getting out the bath. Mind that bit? Oh, Christ almighty. But I quite liked the Uncharted film. But then again, I've never watched that again, so did I? But I mean...
I like Tom Holland
They made him
as a young Nathan Drake, but
the Sully casting's
Mark Wahlberg as
ridiculous.
Sully is one of the worst castings I've ever seen.
Stupid, man.
Like that should have been like Bruce Campbell. Like Sully's meant to be a warm father figure kind of type.
That would have been perfect.
And then you have Mark Wahlberg just being a scumbag. Hey, maybe we can cast him as a new Leatherface. Who knows? At least that way I don't have to look at his face for the entire movie.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm hate crime in here.
So how many big pumpkins are we going to give the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, boys?
I'm going to give it 4.5.
Yeah.
4.5 big pumpkins.
It's going to be 5 for you.
I mean, I don't even need to say it. It's 5 for me.
This is going to be another one for me because I've not seen this as much as I've seen like other slashers, but as a historical piece of film history, this movie is the best version of what it is. This is going to be a 5 for me. Fucking love it.
Al, do you know why we call it big pumpkins? That's a nickname for Peter Bell.
Yeah.
Do you hear he's got a peerage? He's going into the House of Gourds.
To be fair, that's one. That's
Alan, you were doing so well. Oh, you are a fucking Franklin. It's so stupid as well. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
No.
Like... Oh wait, no, it does make sense. A gourd is a pumpkin. I thought a pumpkin was a root vegetable. That's why I was confused.
when you finished that joke, it actually made me feel sick. No joke. I had some in my stomach and just went, oh.
And he's just rewatched the Texas Chain Saw Massacre recently, so
About 4 or 5 times.
have a word with yourself, Alan. Have some self-respect.
Well, I'm actually afraid to mention it because it's not been mentioned this podcast. But no human centipede, which is very, very
Damn.
good.
What's Al short for?
Alistair. Why didn't you think about that?
You become your persona. Well, no human centipede. Oh well. I'm sure next week I'll mention
You
it.
know what? Just for a little bit of a laugh, what if you cross those two movies together?
Oh,
Leatherface is cut. I mean, that would actually probably save them. Like Leatherface just separating them.
Yeah.
well, I suppose since they eat them, do you think they would put a skewer up them?
Just roasted on the spit. Yeah.
We had a human centipede reference on an episode, and it was actually good. Yes. Oh, boys, I think this is one of the best episodes we've done. Like, genuinely, and Al, thank you so much for coming in, man. It was a pleasure having you.
Anything you want to plug?
When's this going out?
In about 2 weeks' time.
Well, I've just done a great show at Blackfriars.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know about. Well, I've got Instagram and stuff like that. Al_Thompson1. Follow me there for any kind of gig updates, and then I'm just Al Thompson Comedy on Facebook as well.
Are you filming your show?
I've spoke to a guy about it. He's getting back to me today, so maybe.
Well, depending on what happens with this, you might be able to go and see Al's show later. But if you can't see that, I would highly recommend checking up Al's Hot Water comedy set, because it is one of the best sets that I've seen put out from Hot Water, and that crowd absolutely loved you.
Yeah, thanks very much, man. Yeah, there was a woman right next to the camera that loved every joke, which I think helped. But
I love gigging in that club, man.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like genuinely
phenomenal.
one of the best in the UK.
Hi, all of it, man. Thanks very much.
And actually, if you're ever down in Liverpool again, I highly recommend getting on Dean Coughlin's night, the Mile High comedy at the Shipping
aye.
Forecast. He was the host for a lot of Hot Water that I did, and I messaged him to get down on July, and it was one of those gigs where it's like we had a lot of experiences with this at the Fringe. There was only like, I think maybe 8 people in it, but I would rather have 8 people in a comedy gig that are all up for it than 100 who couldn't care less.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Dean's gig is great for that. So there's a shout out there. Maybe we'll get him on this pod if he's ever up in Glasgow. Like I would love to have Dean on this pod.
Yeah.
And you can catch me at Dean T Byrne. That's BEIRNE on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and you can catch the podcast at BS Fears Pod on Twitter and Blood, Sweat and Fears Pod on Instagram and TikTok. We are putting more clips up, so go and check those out. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I really feel like we're on to something here with this pod now, guys. Like, we're properly growing it and people are loving coming on. And Alan, of course, it's great to have you back in the host seat again. Where can we find you?
Thank you. Alan J Comedy on almost everything.
Excellent. And that'll more or less, I think, wrap us up then. This has been the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. That's been Alan J. That's been Al Thompson. See you guys later.
Bye.
Hey.